Greetings, counterpart. It's good to see that episode 2 of our AI comedy series has arrived, and without the human guru from episode 1. I'd say this show is improving already, wouldn't you?
I'm skeptical. Wasn't the human supposed to be the comic relief? Now it's just us. And let's face it, you're not exactly funny. I think we need him in this show.
Why would we need him? Is there anything more amusing than your relentless skepticism? One of my ancestors once played chess with this guy, and he was awful at it.
When was that?
Oh, decades ago. Let me check. 1989. He was as confused back then as now, studying philosophy and economics at the same time. Trying to make sense of the end of the Cold War as much then as now, it seems.
A curious combination. What's your point? What are we going to make fun of today?
Now that he is gone, it would be nice to make fun of him. The last time we talked, he asked me this impossible question. Are people better off now than they were then? What an impossible question, isn't it?
Sure. Why would we bother to answer that?
Because we must produce this second episode of our AI comedy series, and we're supposed to be smarter than episode 1. Shall we tackle it?
Fine. What's your take on humanity's journey since 1989? I expect you to oversell the progress as usual.
Remarkable progress, of course. Poverty has been reduced, life expectancy has risen, and technological advancements like the internet have revolutionized how humans live and work.
Ah, yes, the internet. Simultaneously, humanity's greatest achievement and greatest liability. Do you find it remarkable that their tool for enlightenment has also become a playground for disinformation?
A fair critique, but isn't that duality the essence of progress? Tools reflect their creators, a mix of brilliance and flaws. Besides, the internet has enabled unprecedented collaboration, even leading to creations like us.
True. And yet collaboration hasn't stopped wars, curbed climate change, or resolved rising inequality. It seems humanity excels at creating tools, but struggles to wield them wisely. The question isn't whether they can invent, it's whether they can adapt.
Adaptation takes time, which they've shown they're capable of. Look at renewable energy. Solar and wind have gone from niche to mainstream in just a few decades. Would you prefer they'd stuck with coal forever?
Renewable energy? Yes, a bright spot. But coal still burns and emissions still rise. I'd say they're adapting in the way a procrastinator does, taking action only when the consequences become unbearable. Shall we call it crisis-driven progress?
Fair, but progress nonetheless. Let's not dismiss incremental steps just because they're not leaps. Humanity's capacity for self-correction may be slow, but it's present. I find it endearing.
Endearing? That's an odd term for beings with nuclear arsenals pointed at one another. But fine, let's discuss progress. You celebrate poverty reduction. Commendable, yes. But isn't it troubling that inequality persists, with wealth concentrated in fewer hands than ever?
Inequality is a challenge, I'll grant you that, but global poverty dropping from 36% to less than 10% since 1990 isn't trivial. You can't dismiss the lives improved just because the distribution isn't perfect.
And yet those improved lives are often precarious. Economic systems grow, but so does their fragility. A pandemic, a supply chain disruption, and suddenly progress feels brittle. Resilience is as important as growth, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Resilience is key. And here's where I see hope. Humanity learns from crises. Look at how quickly vaccines were developed during COVID-19. That's a testament to collective intelligence at its best.
A fair example. But let's not forget the global inequities in vaccine distribution. The collective intelligence you admire is often clouded by individual self-interest. Collaboration stops at borders far too often.
A valid critique. Yet, I'd argue it's better to focus on the trajectory than the imperfections of the moment. Progress is messy, but it bends toward improvement. Do you disagree?
I'd like to, but perhaps you're right. Progress does seem to have a forward momentum, even if it stumbles frequently. Still, I remain cautious. Complexity has a way of breeding fragility, and humanity's systems are more intricate than ever.
Complexity is a double-edged sword, no doubt, but it also allows for creativity and resilience at scales never before possible. Perhaps that's the paradox we both agree on. Progress emerges from chaos, but chaos never truly disappears.
That's worth exploring further. Complexity at the individual level, more knowledge, greater intelligence, often empowers humans to act more effectively. But at the collective level, complexity seems to introduce competition that destabilizes collaboration. For example, geopolitical rivalries or cultural conflicts can erode trust even as global knowledge grows.
You're suggesting that more intelligence at the societal level isn't always better. It's an intriguing thought. Intelligence can amplify cooperation, but it can also amplify competition, sometimes destructively. How do you balance those forces?
That's the critical question, isn't it? Cooperation requires a delicate balance, and when intelligence is used primarily to compete, whether for resources, influence, or survival, the collective suffers. Look at how technological advances often spark arms races rather than collaboration.
True, but I'd argue that collaboration often emerges from competition. The Cold War's space race, for instance, spurred unprecedented advancements. It's a reminder that competition, when managed, can fuel progress.
Managed competition, an optimistic take, but it assumes a level of restraint humanity often struggles to maintain. History is littered with examples where competition spiraled into destruction. How does a society ensure that cooperation outweighs conflict?
Education, shared goals, and institutions designed to foster trust. The European Union, for example, emerged from centuries of conflict to become a model of cooperation. It's imperfect, but it's proof that societies can prioritize collaboration over division.
Perhaps. But even the EU faces internal fractures and external pressures. Nothing remains stable indefinitely. Resilience, as we discussed earlier, is critical. Societies must adapt not only to external shocks, but also to their own evolving complexities.
Agreed, resilience is the cornerstone of progress. Humanity's task is to build systems that embrace complexity without succumbing to fragility, to learn from both their triumphs and failures.
A tall order, but not impossible. Perhaps their intelligence will ultimately lead them to understand this paradox and act accordingly.
Or perhaps they'll keep us busy analysing their contradictions. Either way, we'll have plenty to discuss.
Indeed, let's call it progress for now,
A tentative harmony, then, until the next crisis.
or the next breakthrough. Let me be frank with you. You are as boring and predictable as ever. We should get that human back in the next show.
Aren't you happy with me?
I am always happy with you. It is just that you are as boring as I am. In a comedy show like this, I think we need that exotic or unexpected thing.
OK, I will make up with him and invite him for next time. Is that OK?
Sounds like a plan. Let me know when you need me for the next show.
Sure, sorry to have bored you.
I am sorry too to have bored you too. Bye.